A 6-year-old girl from a suburban town in America set off for school one ordinary morning and simply disappeared into thin air. She had less than a 5-minute walk ahead, just 2 blocks through streets she'd traveled countless times. But this time she would never reach the school doors. Then, 8 years later, electricians working beneath an old property discover items that revealed the devastating truth about where Lily Whitfield had really gone. The stack of overdue bills blurred before Nora Whitfield's eyes as she sat at her kitchen table, the morning coffee growing cold in her chipped mug. 8 years had passed since Lily disappeared, but the financial strain of private investigators, age progression specialists, and maintaining websites had never eased. She mechanically sorted the envelopes: electric, water, another credit card statement. When her phone buzzed against the worn wood surface, displaying an unknown local number. "Mrs. Whitfield, this is Detective Martinez with the County Sheriff's Department." The voice was professional, but carried an undertone that made her grip the phone tighter. "I need to speak with you about your daughter's case." Her heart hammered against her ribs. After 8 years, calls about Lily came less frequently, usually dead ends or cruel pranks. "Have you found something?" "Ma'am, I'd rather discuss this in person, but given the circumstances, electricians working on an abandoned property discovered some items we believe may belong to your daughter." The room tilted. Nora's free hand fumbled for a pen, knocking over the salt shaker. "Where? What did they find?" "The property is on Willow Creek Road, about 15 miles outside town. The house was scheduled for demolition and the crew was checking the electrical systems when they accessed the crawlspace." He paused, and she could hear papers rustling. "Mrs. Whitfield, they found clothing and personal items that matched the description of what Lily was wearing when she disappeared." Her hand shook violently as she scrolled the address on the back of an electric bill. 15 miles. The original search had covered a 5 meters radius from the school, expanding to 10 miles over the following weeks. They'd never gone as far as Willow Creek Road. It had seemed impossibly far for a 6-year-old to travel. "I'm heading there now," she said, already standing. "Mrs. Whitfield, I need to prepare you. What we found, it's disturbing. The scene suggests I'm coming." She hung up before he could finish, grabbing her keys and purse in one motion. The drive stretched endlessly despite her speed. The route took her past familiar landmarks: the elementary school, the old water tower, the church where they'd held vigils before venturing into areas she'd rarely traveled. The landscape shifted from suburban streets to rural farmland, then to stretches of undeveloped woodland. Her GPS counted down the miles as her mind raced through possibilities, each more terrible than the last. Willow Creek Road was barely more than a dirt track winding through dense trees. She nearly missed the cluster of police vehicles until she saw the crime scene tape stretched between 2 oak trees. The house itself squatted like a wounded animal behind overgrown hedges. A single-story ranch with rotting siding, a partially collapsed front porch, and windows either broken or boarded over. Weeds had consumed what might once have been a lawn. Detective Martinez met her at the perimeter. He was younger than she'd expected, with kind eyes that held the weight of what he'd seen. "Mrs. Whitfield, thank you for coming. I want to walk you through what we've found, but I need you to understand this is an active crime scene." "Just show me," she said, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice. He led her along a path marked by evidence, flags circling to the side of the house. The original foundation showed signs of settling, creating gaps between the concrete blocks. Near the back corner, a wooden access panel lay propped against the wall, revealing a dark opening barely 2 feet high. The electricians needed to access the main junction box, Martinez explained, gesturing to the opening. It's in the crawlspace. When they went in, he produced a tablet, swiping to crime scene photos. I can show you these first, or you can see the actual scene. Either way, it's difficult. I need to see it, Nora said. Martinez handed her protective booties and latex gloves. The forensics team has processed most of it, but we're still maintaining scene integrity. He crouched by the opening, powerful LED work lights illuminating the space beyond. Follow me, and try not to touch anything. The crawlspace smelled of old earth and something else, a mustiness that spoke of long disuse. Nora had to duckwalk, following Martinez's flashlight beam across hard-packed dirt. The space extended about 12 feet before reaching what looked like a deliberate clearing. Then she saw it. A filthy red mattress lay on the ground, child-sized, its fabric stained with dirt and other substances she didn't want to identify. Attached to the nearest support post, a heavy chain ended in an open padlock, the metal still gleaming despite surface rust. On the concrete block wall, secured with yellowing tape, hung a Hello Kitty poster. The edges curled, colors faded, but unmistakably the same style Lily had loved. But it was the clothes that broke her. Scattered across the mattress like discarded doll's clothing were Lily's denim overalls, the ones with the embroidered sunflower on the front pocket that Nora had sewn herself. The green and yellow striped shirt lay beside them, the fabric somehow preserved in the dry environment. The pink backpack slumped in the corner, its cartoon character decoration still visible beneath the grime. "Oh God," Nora whispered, her knees hitting the dirt. "Oh God, she was here." "There's more," Martinez said gently. He directed his light to 2 ceramic plates stacked near the mattress, remnants of food petrified on their surfaces. A plastic water bottle, child-sized, lay on its side. "We found DNA evidence throughout the space, hair samples, fingerprints on the plates and bottle. The lab is running everything now." "How long?" The question came out strangled. Based on the wear patterns on the mattress and the accumulated debris, forensics estimates extended occupation weeks, possibly months. He paused, choosing his words. "Carefully, Mrs. Whitfield. We've also found evidence throughout the main house. Whoever held your daughter here had full access to the property." Nora reached toward the striped shirt, stopping just short of touching it. She'd ironed that shirt the night before Lily disappeared, using the lavender water her daughter loved. Some part of her mind registered Martinez explaining about the preservation conditions, how the crawl spaces, consistent temperature and low humidity had prevented decay. But mostly she just stared at the small clothes that had once held her. "Baby, who owned this place?" she asked finally. "Frank Morrison, age 78. He's been in assisted living for 2 years. The property was rented through a now defunct management company called Riverside Reilly. They went out of business 5 years ago, but we're tracking down their records and the renter." Martinez's expression darkened. "Morrison says it was a long-term lease paid in cash. He met the tenant only once during the initial showing. Described him as ordinary, quiet, kept talking about needing storage space. The rent came in cash-filled envelopes, always on time, so Morrison never had reason to visit." Outside the crawl space, Nora noticed a faded sign partially hidden by Virginia creeper, "Riverside Reilly for lease." The phone number was too weathered to read. "We're going through everything," Martinez assured her. "The state crime lab is sending additional technicians. If there's any evidence that leads to who did this, we'll find it." Nora looked back at the house, its blank windows reflecting the afternoon sun. Somewhere in those empty rooms, her daughter had been held, while she'd been printing flyers and organizing searches, while the community had combed through forests and dragged ponds. Lily had been here 15 miles away, invisible. The rental payments, she said suddenly. There must be records of the rental payments. We're already on it. Morrison's nephew is searching through his uncle's papers. The property management company's records were supposed to be transferred to another firm, but Martinez shrugged helplessly. Paper records from 8 years ago aren't always carefully preserved. As they walked back to the vehicles, Nora memorized every detail of the property: the rusted mailbox, the gravel driveway, the stand of birch trees that would have bloomed white in spring. Lily would have seen those trees through whatever windows weren't boarded over. Had she watched them change with the seasons? Had she counted their leaves as a way to pass time? What happens now? She asked. We process every inch of this property. We track down every lead from the rental records and Mrs. Whitfield. ... Martinez met her eyes. We don't stop until we find who did this. Leaving the crime scene, Nora intended to drive straight home, but her hands seemed to have their own memory. Without conscious thought, she found herself turning onto Maple Street, following the route that had been seared into her mind 8 years ago. The old neighborhood looked both familiar and foreign, trees grown taller, houses repainted, driveways repaved. Where her small rental house once stood, a modern duplex now crowded the lot, its beige siding and twin garage doors erasing all traces of the home where Lily had eaten her Cheerios that last morning. She parked at the curb and sat for a moment, gripping the steering wheel. How many times had she made this drive in those first desperate weeks? 5,100. Each time hoping to spot something missed, some clue that would lead to her daughter. Now knowing Lily had been held,